I love it. Okay. Well, everybody, this is Dan Tesson, a thriller, and we didn't really get to talk much about Princess and Scruffy.
Maybe we can do that another time.
Yeah, I would love that.
That would be great.
Thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I think we have a guest here.
I think so too.
Well, hello, I'm coming in for our second show. A nice McCallan 12-year.
Oh, wow.
Kim, thank you so much
for
coming in.
Timothy, everybody, this is Timothy. Part of the reason why Sean was inspired to write the book. Oh, thank you so much.
Yes, of course.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Kim.
All right. How are we doing?
Doing well. I'm going to just finish off my mead.
Yep. Kim?
Oh, yeah.
Let's just hope that Ethan actually hit record on that, because that was a wonderful conversation.
I do have good questions, don't I?
Yes, you do.
Good.
Awesome.
How long was that?
47 minutes.
Awesome.
Are you serious?
Very good.
Oh, my gosh.
Welcome to Weekend Whiskey. What? No, I don't know what we're talking
Well, we'll get to that, but it's going to be it's Weekend Whiskeys with the O'Learys.
Weekend Whiskeys with the O'Learys. I like that.
Yes, and we've been talking about maybe splitting this section off in the future and making that a separate YouTube channel. But
I think that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, that could be fun.
All right, so what did we set out for today? So today we've got McCallan 12-year-old Highland single malt Scotch whiskey, double cask.
Sounds wonderful.
Why don't we give ourselves some spelling notes?
Okay.
To start out with.
That sounds good. I like your shirt.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your shirt.
Thank you.
Same brand. It's almost like maybe the same woman shops for us. My mother, his wife.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay, you and I are known for giving some kind of fun, kind of odd tasting notes. I'm getting glazier's putty.
Yeah, I get a little bit of glazier's putty. I hadn't thought about that. We need to get a glazier's putty and set it right
We
here.
really do.
People may not know what glazier's putty is.
Okay, give me a little bit of a description.
So, before, modern windows that are just, made in a factory and then installed, they would have a wood frame, and you would set a single pane of glass in there, nail it in, and then to seal it in place, you would put glazier's putty.
Yeah.
And it was like putty. You'd put it all around with a spatula, and then over time it would harden. It would hold the glass in place and seal out some of the drafts. At least that was what people hoped, And it had a very distinct odor to it, and it smells a lot like this.
Yes. So if you're of a younger persuasion, it's kind of like if you left one of the black or red phenolic kitchen tools on the stove while having isopropyl alcohol open at the same time. There's that kind of acrid smell to it, kind of like juniper berries burning, that makes your tongue and your nose go.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way, but also in a kind of like smelling gasoline way.
So one of the things that I get is, definitely the glazier's putty, but it's the first thing that I smelled was very sharp. I didn't get a lot of the florals. I didn't get any of those other things, but I got this kind of, grabs your nose hairs and maybe, I don't want to say mildewy, but earthy. Kind of an earthy, natural smell to it. But now that I've...
Kind of like if you've ever shaved a truffle, before you start cutting into it, the smell that it has, if you hold a black truffle up to your nose, that's very similar to like that front note.
Oh, it sounds great. I haven't had that experience. But now that I'm smelling it a little bit more, I'm starting to get some sweetness, and I'm getting like almost a fruity smell, but I can't quite tell what fruit.
I'm getting kind of a fig, maybe.
Fig, yeah.
Like that kind of caramelized sugar
Definitely.
And that, I mean, we get that in a lot of different whiskeys, is that caramelized sugar, that vanilla, that oaky flavor. But
I was going to say like a dried apple, but I think I think I'm getting the vanilla. Yeah, that's really definitely a vanilla. And then there's that pungence comes back again, that earthy pungence, you know.
All right, let's give it a taste. There's a little bit of spice going back along the middle of the tongue.
Yeah.
But a really nice kind of raisiny taste that follows the burn.
Yeah, and there is a burn. It reminds me, I mean, it's a Scotch, but it reminds me of a rye.
It's too sweet for a rye.
Okay.
It tastes like a really sweet, good floral tobacco.
Okay.
Like a pipe tobacco. Not a cigarette, no.
No, yeah.
But a nice pipe tobacco, something that has a luxurious kind of amber tones to it.
Right.
Yeah. That's quite fun.
It is. What I think is interesting with tasting whiskeys is the second and third taste are very different than the first taste.
Okay. Do you remember when we tried to make dandelion mead and we used white grapes as the sweetener for it?
Yeah.
Are you not getting that white grape? It's the raisin is not a dark raisin.
Yeah.
It's a white grape raisin.
Grape. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Right? That kind of, it's a little bit cleaner. It's a little bit fresher. Whereas the darker grapes are a little bit more malty.
What were you telling me earlier today about round and square things?
Oh, yes. Warm water, of course, tastes, when you drink warm water, it's round.
Right.
When you drink really cold water, it's spiky.
Right. Now, this to me tastes very round, but it does have some spikiness to it.
Yes.
But the warmth, the sweetness to it makes it more of a round flavor to me.
Yeah. It's kind of like doing a Jell-O shot, honestly. You get that, lick around the Jell-O shot, throw it back. You get the alcohol across the tongue, and then you're like, oh, it's kind of soft and fun.
I'll take your word for that.
Okay. We've lived different lives.
Absolutely. That is really fun.
So, okay, when you sip a whiskey, do you inhale or do you exhale?
I exhale.
I do too.
The reason is because when I was very inexperienced, I inhaled, and that's a horrible thing to
Yes,
do.
You'll cough your lungs out for that.
Yeah. So Highland single malt. So this is from the Highlands of Scotland, and I think that someday we should go to Scotland,
100%,
and enjoy the different whiskeys that are there. I think that would be a very fun adventure.
Yes. Now, do we wait until my son is old enough to go on that adventure, or do we do that now while we're in our kind of like, I'm a young father, you're a young grandfather? Do we do this sooner, or do we wait until we've got a 21-year-old with us and you and I are old as shit?
Yeah, no, she's saying no, do it now.
Do it now.
I agree. I think we should do it now, but I think we should do it twice.
Oh.
I think we should do it now and enjoy it. And then, in 20 years, 20 years, we should go and do that again with your son.
But we're also going to have to take him back to Ireland.
Absolutely.
I mean, that we can't not make that trip back with him. We can't not take him to Dublin and Galway and Swords, and maybe we'll make it up into Northern Ireland and actually see the Giant's Causeway.
Yeah, we should do that the next time. I definitely want to go short trip
right back there.
Yes, very quick trip. I definitely want to go to the library in Dublin.
Yes.
I feel bad that we missed that.
It's one of my biggest regrets.
Yeah, me too.
Because we really thought, look, you're going to wait in line. It's going to be a long time. You're going to see it for a little bit. It's not that big a deal. But you see a picture of it, and I feel like you and I walking through those big doors and seeing a library that just expands in front of you up,
Yes.
100 feet?
Yeah.
Or more?
I think the reason why we didn't go is the person that we talked to, who was from Ireland, was talking specifically about the Book of Kells.
Yeah.
And he said that, you're only going to see one page. They open one page. You're going to get to see that. You're going to wait a long time, pay a lot. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a waste of your time.
Yeah.
If that's the only reason that you're going, maybe that is, because but it's a spectacular book, and I would love to see that.
Yep.
But walking through those halls in the library in the great room, I just that would be wonderful. I definitely want to do that.
Do you remember the big armory that we went through, the museum?
Yes,
that was a lot of fun.
Irish National Museum in Dublin. Yeah.
That was a spectacular museum.
That was a fun trip.
Yeah,
it was very enjoyable.
I mean, it was just seeing, especially us as metal workers, looking through what they were doing, and you could see the artistry on how they shaped these pieces of metal. They weren't that perfectly polished, fabricated look.
Yeah.
You could clearly see that someone with a hammer had made that piece. Not that they were crude but you could see that there was variation in it, that someone actually worked the steel.
So how we talk about in the interview with Kim, I mentioned how an artist, a writer, might have died decades before, and yet you're reading the words. When you look at a suit of armor that was made 1,000 years ago, or 500, whatever it was, you've got a connection to history, to reality, to a story that happened centuries before you were a twinkle in anybody's eye.
Yeah.
And that is so phenomenal.
Could you imagine reaching your hand into a gauntlet that was 1,000 years old, turning your hand over and feeling that? Something that someone had created and that had been used to survive insurmountable circumstances.
So you and I have talked about this before. I've never had that experience.
Yeah.
But when I was about 15 years old, we went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, and we were going to the King Tut exhibit. And I remember being disappointed because I'm like, where's the mummy? Where's King Tut? He didn't come, but all of his treasures came. Well, we went in with someone who worked at the museum, and they took us through the back way. We went through a few different rooms, and we stopped at an exhibit that they were getting ready to release.
Yeah.
That was going to come after King Tut, and it was about Martin Luther. And they had his rings there. And I never would have even asked this.
Yeah.
But the person who brought us there said, would you like to hold one of his rings?
My goodness.
I actually held one of his rings, and I put it on my finger. I put it on my thumb, and it rattled around.
Yeah.
This man had huge hands.
So my ring finger is a 15 and a half.
Yeah.
I've seen the ring at an exhibit as I was growing up that you got to hold.
Right.
I think it was like a 19 or 22.
Wow.
Yeah, it was,
it's
just
big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a grown man, we could probably still put it on and rattle it around.
Yeah.
It's really quite the piece of, gold hardware.
And you see pictures of him, and if you think about it, he looks like this really big guy. He really was a big guy.
Yeah.
And not only was his body large, but his presence, personality, his presence was large. He really made a big difference in history.
Oh, absolutely.
Really affected a lot of history. And those kinds of things, those stories are not made up. They're real, but they are stories, and they're important, and they capture your imagination just the way a sci-fi or a fantasy novel would. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Storytelling is so important across generations. We're natural born storytellers. The human condition asks that we tell stories.
Absolutely.
And as we grow, maybe it's from sharing a family story to writing your own novel, to publishing a piece of poetry, to telling stories to your friends over drinks, right? We want to tell stories. And that's really important to the human condition, because the fictional narratives that we frame around the sociological construct is so important because it gives us a framework of what is important to us as a society. So, I mean, the lessons that Dan Tesson is trying to tell the world really embody what you want to try to communicate to the world as an important value.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been great. I enjoy your pick of the McCallan 15.
All right.
That was great.
Slàinte.
Slàinte. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. We will have a new episode soon. Part 4 in While We Wait is just around the corner. This was episode 3.
And our spin-off channel is called?
I don't remember. Weekend Whiskeys with the O'Learys.
There we go. Wait until we get to episode 10. We've got something very special to this family that I think everyone will enjoy.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.